is going on, Trash Talkers? We're back with another episode for you. Today's video, we're going to go over our starts and sits for Week 7 fantasy football. All that and much more coming your way right now! Hey Trash Talkers, over 85% of you are still not subscribed to the channel. Please be sure to hit that red subscribe button and turn on notifications, as it will help us create more daily content for you. Thank you and enjoy today's video. Alright everyone, welcome back and thank you for tuning in to our starts and sits episode for fantasy football. We are joined once again by the Fantasy 4-Pack. Matt Vitale back with us again. Matt, can you reiterate to our fans where they can find you guys?
Yeah, so you guys can find us on YouTube and Twitter. Those are probably the two best places to reach out to us. Fantasy 4-Pack or our socials, which you can find right on our page, which we'll also have, I believe, in the links down below, and vice versa. When you can see the episodes where we have Mike here joining us this week, you can see the information that he's bringing us. So, yeah, if you're looking for something a little more focused on fantasy on a week-to-week basis, we definitely have that. And like I said, we're just glad to be collaborating with your show and be able to bring a little bit of different opinion, because I think that's the best way to approach fantasy. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one source of information.
Absolutely, no echo chambers here. And just as a reminder, make sure to like the video and smack that subscribe button for both of our channels. It'll definitely help us create better and more content for you moving forward. All right, with that being said, let's get into the video. And Nick, why don't you start us off with your starts and sits at the quarterback position for Week 7?
Yeah, for my start quarterback of the week, I'm going with Jameis Winston. On a Monday night game, we've seen this time and time again this season. These televised games, these nationally televised games, the quarterbacks have been playing great, and I think Jameis Winston's going to continue that. He's getting some of his receivers back. He's coming off of a bye week. I think that the Seattle Seahawks secondary has a ton of holes that we saw even Big Ben exposed last week. To me, Jameis Winston's going to have some big deep balls, and I really like his high upside. For my sit of the week, I'm going with Jalen Hurts. I just don't like this matchup right now against the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, their secondary isn't as strong as it once was, but I still believe that the Las Vegas Raiders are playing with a different type of attitude right now, and I think that they're going to continue to band together, and the pass rush is going to be strong. This offensive line for the Eagles is not that great, and Jalen Hurts is going to be on the run a lot more. I just don't think that Jalen Hurts is going to have a top 5 week like he's been.
Both great points. I'm a little more down on Jameis, but you know what? I think he's a fine play for you out there this week. For me, my start quarterback this week is going to be Derek Carr, as you were just talking about the Raiders and how they're looking to surge back after this coaching change that they've had. And we've seen teams before, like the Browns. I mean, granted, Freddie Kitchens is not the greatest head coach, but you know what? When he stepped in, we saw that that team did kind of get a resurgence. I think Derek Carr has a great chance to step up as a leader for this team against Philadelphia, which has been a so defense, definitely exploitable through the air, and they've just been throwing it so much as an offense. They're getting weapons back. They're getting healthy. I like to see this as a bounce back game for Darren Waller as well, but for a week where there's so many people injured or just on their buys, you could do a lot worse than Derek Carr this week against Philly at home. And for my sit this week, I'm going to go with a little more of a popular player, Joe Burrow, playing at Baltimore this week. He has been pretty consistent going into this matchup, so I wanted to pick somebody that people were kind of just thinking that they could just plug and play this week. Baltimore's looking great. They were able to, put up that great game against Indy just this past week. I just see this game as one where Joe Burrow's going to have to really rely on getting those long bomb touchdowns, really going to be touchdown dependent, because he has had a turnover problem. We've seen 2 games already where he's had multiple turnovers, and I think that could really hurt him against Baltimore, who can really get after the quarterback. And if Baltimore does what Baltimore wants and keep this game on the ground, running a lot with their quarterback and their just plethora of running backs, or whoever it is this week, they could really stall at the clock and leave not a lot of time for Burrow to really pay off for fantasy teams.
Yeah, no, excellent points by both of you. I think Jameis Winston has definitely a lot of upside in this game. The Seattle Seahawks defense has been spotty at best, and I think that Jameis Winston is one of those guys where, you know, he's kind of a 50-50 guy the way he plays, but in key moments he seems to play up to his competition. He seems to rise to the occasion. And on the other hand, I think Derek Carr, with this revamped offense, this revamped Las Vegas Raiders team, I think that they're going to really be able to ball out for your team in a week, Vitaly, that you kind of mentioned, that you're missing a lot of key quarterbacks. No Dak Prescott, no Kirk Cousins. I mean, a lot of guys that are normally relied on week in, week out. These are the guys you're going to have to replace. So these are some of the guys that you should definitely be looking forward to. All right, next up we have our running backs. And Nick, why don't you get us started with your starts and sits?
For my start running back of the week, I'm going with Chuba Hubbard. I like the upside here with CMC being on IR. Chuba Hubbard gets a lot more work, and against the New York Giants, to me, the Panthers are going to get out to a fairly early lead, which means Chuba Hubbard's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of opportunities to put up points, and I think with all the bye weeks this week, Chuba Hubbard is one of the best starts that you can have. For my sit of the week, I'm going with Mark Ingram. The Houston Texans are going to Arizona, taking on the undefeated Cardinals, and this defense is going to absolutely stop the run game. Mark Ingram is getting a ton of carries, but he's not going to get any yards against this team. I think Davis Mills is going to have to throw a ton to try to even keep up with the Arizona offense, and Mark Ingram is going to be left out of this game.
Yeah, great point. And another transition right into the same game. I'm going the opposite side of the ball with my start here with James Conner. Conner has been consistently increasing his snap percentage and his just overall carries per game. Producing, I mean, last week we saw him with almost 4.5 yards per carry on 16 carries. That's an efficiency you're not going to find on the running backs that are available. I mean, you look at the waiver wire this week, we're really grasping at straws when we're looking for the fourth running back for Cleveland to be a guy to help you with the spot start. I mean, I love Cleveland, but, you know, with both their guys out there's not much hope for them on a Thursday night. You could do a lot worse with James Conner, who's had a really great floor, and he just has a nose for the end zone, and I can see him punching another one in and putting up a nice 15-point fantasy week for your team. And for my sit, I'm going with Khalil Herbert, a guy I was really big on for last week. I did end up trading him to a team that was really needed a spot start, just because I knew the week was good and I knew that the timetable for moving him was short. But Khalil Herbert is drawing the Bucs, and they are one of the best run defenses in the league. We saw how much they savaged Ezekiel Elliott in week 1, and I think it's going to be another situation just like that, because is the last time you saw me on this show, I was talking down about the Bears. I've been talking about the Bears basically since week 2, and I think it's going to continue. This team is in shambles, and they're going to hand it off. Khalil Herbert's going to get his carries, but it's not going to look pretty. It's going to be a very much Mark Ingram situation for Houston, where he's going to be getting a lot of touches, but it's not going to be a lot of efficiency.
No, I agree. I think that when you look at Khalil Herbert, he had a great output last week. Great, fantastic. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front is just one of the best in the NFL, and they are ranking number 1 against the run. When you take a look at what they've done previously, you talked about Ezekiel Elliott, but even look in the New England Patriots game, where it was a run-heavy game with the weather, and Damian Harris and company actually got negative yardage in the game. So when it's all said and done, the front seven for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers knows what they're doing. Khalil Herbert, I'm happy sitting him right now. But Chuba Hubbard and James Conner, I think those are incredible starts. James Conner has just found, like you said, for the end zone. He's found it time in and time out. He's actually taking over Chase Edmonds' role as the RB1 for this team. Obviously, it's still going to be a committee approach, and Edmonds will be the receiving back. But I think James Conner has kind of found a home with the Arizona Cardinals and what he's going to be used in this offense, especially as they transition with a new tight end. On the other side, Chuba Hubbard has really helped with the load since CMC went out, and he's been a really value pick, especially if you were a CMC owner. So I like Chuba Hubbard starting here, and I think that you can continue to roll with him against the Giants. Next up, we have the wide receiver starts and sits. Nick, why don't you get us started?
For my start wide receiver of the week, I'm going with Michael Pittman. I really like this matchup against the 49ers, even though they're coming off the bye. Josh Norman is still their CB1, and I believe Michael Pittman, whether he's the 1 or the 2 to T.Y. Hilton if he's playing, Michael Pittman's going to get back to his regular target share, and I think even more so. To me, Carson Wentz is getting more ingrained to this offense. He's getting more fluid with the guys, and Jonathan Taylor is such a big weapon that the 49ers are going to be focused on the run a lot more than the pass. It's going to leave a lot of wide open one-on-ones with Michael Pittman. We know he has that one-on-one ability, and I think that there's a lot of upside to him this week. For my set of the week, I'm going with Tyler Lockett. It's a primetime matchup again for the Seattle Seahawks. And with Geno Smith playing as inconsistent as he is, Tyler Lockett being as inconsistent as he is, I just believe the matchup together is a disaster. And the New Orleans Saints defense is one of the best. And I think they're going to continue that coming off that bye. They're fresh and ready to go. Tyler Lockett is going to be another non-existent player for the Seahawks once again.
Yeah, I think both great advice. For my start this week, I'm going with Sterling Shepard. We were really all hoping as the fantasy community to see the breakout of Kadarius Toney, but unfortunately due to injury, it's not this week. So I'll go with basically one of the only fresh and healthy options on the Giants going against Carolina this week. Carolina is a good defense, but I think that the amount of targets that Sterling Shepard could see in this game will just kind of overweight that, where he could be inefficient with his catches but still produce a fine fantasy day, because the Giants have to do something on offense, and as we saw when it was his time in the beginning of the year, he was balling out for his managers. 21 points week 1, 13 the next week, but then he got hurt and he was out for 3 weeks. Now he's back and he has cemented himself right back on this offense last week. I expect him to do great things for fantasy managers this week. My sit is actually going to be a guy who helped fantasy managers last week, and that was Jalen Waddle. He's going against the Atlanta Falcons this week, which on paper looks like a great matchup, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those trap card matchups out there where you can see a guy who's a promising up-and-coming player, but he is still a rookie receiver. His production this year has been up and down. You'll see a week where he'll get 13 targets, then the very next week he gets 4. So with a matchup like this, I don't think it's going to be like Jacksonville where it's sloppy defense and they're just able to throw, and it's just going to be a fantasy bonanza. I think this one's going to be a lot more of a pace down. I think Myles Gaskin's going to factor heavily into this one and really grind down the pace. Atlanta can't do anything with the ball. We're still working back with Tua and his injury, so I think this is going to be a step down game for Jalen that could really trap fantasy managers in a tough week where it's going to be you're really going to need production from all your positions to win.
Yeah, you guys mentioned 2 big play receivers, Jalen Waddle and Tyler Lockett, being sits. And I think that goes to say, listen, the Miami Dolphins have had quite the quarterback issues this year with Tua going out with injuries. He's still not 100% healthy. And then obviously there was a lack of rapport with Jacoby Brissett, and on the other side, Geno Smith was targeting DK Metcalf almost exclusively in the passing game. Tyler Lockett seemed to be the forgotten man, so I like both of these sits. I want to focus on the starts, though. Michael Pittman obviously looked like a forgotten man, Nick, when Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton came back. Are you sure about the Michael Pittman pick?
Yeah, I really like Michael Pittman this week. I just think that his one-on-one ability, especially against the porous secondary, is really going to shine. Carson Wentz is looking better week over week, and I think that this could be a week where Michael Pittman puts together a couple touchdowns.
No, absolutely. I agree as well. I just wanted to make sure that our fantasy owners that are listening wanted to get that second bit of just confidence that Michael Pittman is a good start. And I believe Sterling Shepard as well, a great start as well. I think he's going to be hyper-targeted by necessity, not necessarily because he deserves it, but because he's the only guy on the field. All right, for our final starts and sits, Nick, why don't you get us started at the tight end position?
For my start tight end of the week, I'm going with Dallas Goedert, who is now the tight end 1 and only tight end for Jalen Hurts moving forward. Jalen Hurts really loves his safety blanket, and that is the tight end position. Dallas Goedert is going to get a lot of utilization this week, while the Las Vegas Raiders pass rush, like I said earlier, is going to be after Jalen Hurts. He's going to be looking Dallas Goedert's way a lot, and I believe that Dallas Goedert is one of the best tight ends you could have going into week 7. For my sit tight ends of the week, I'm going with his former counterpart, Zach Ertz, the newest acquisition for the Arizona Cardinals. With all the wide receiver weapons that they have in Arizona, you saw each and every one of them on display last week as well. Zach Ertz is going to have to take his time to get going in this offense, learn the playbook, get the chemistry with Kyler Murray, and I believe that's going to take more than just 1 week. To me, Zach Ertz is a nice guy to have for the remainder of the season, but for this week, I would hold off.
Funny enough, you keep feeding me these just great transitions. My start of the week is a former Cardinal, Mr. Ricky Seals-Jones of the Washington football team, going up against Green Bay. I love him this week. Like I said, I've been on him for a while. I thought he was going to be a breakout candidate for the Cardinals back in the day, but that didn't seem to work out. And then he was the backup for Washington and got his chance when Logan Thomas went down. And we've seen his snap percentage. He is basically always on the field for this team. So you have to be on the field to score points. You need to be targeted to score points. And that's been the issue with the tight end position this year, is just no one's getting anything. So if you can find a tight end who's just getting targets, that's usually good enough for me, especially if you went late tight end, which is something I've always preached. So, I mean, a guy who's got 9 and 6 targets in his last 2 games, and a guy you might even be able to pick up off the waiver wire this week, yeah, I'll take that all day against a team where they're going to need to throw because Green Bay is going to hang points on them. So smash start, I think, this week. And for a sit, I'm going with Cameron Brate. He was the guy I really liked weeks ago when Gronk was out. Gronk's officially out again for this week. And you figure that Brady would just kind of transition at least some of that work from Gronkowski to him, and you'd see some touchdown upside. But he is a my guy type of quarterback. You have to have trust with him. He has to be able to, he picks his guys that he's going to throw to, and that's basically it. We saw that with the Patriots, where we wanted to work in the new receivers, the young guns, but he just didn't want to work with them. He wanted to use Julian Edelman, and it seems that this is carrying over. Antonio Brown is a big piece in this offense. Gronk is a big piece in this offense, and Brate is just not getting the targets. He's not getting the snaps. That lets me justify starting him this week, even with how bad tight end is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a lot of people thought tight end Brady, this is the perfect fitting, but Cameron Brate just isn't there. And, it goes to show, like you said, Brady loves his guys. And I think that in this Buccaneers offense, without Gronkowski, they've gone to a more stretch approach, the essential former Cardinals way with Bruce Arians, where every route is essentially 10 to 20 yards down the field, and that's without the tight end position really doing anything. I think that Brady is on pace to show that he can still throw the long ball, he can still have a dynamic offense, and that's going without a tight end since Gronk is down. On the other side, Ricky Seals-Jones, I really like the start here. I think that he has proven that he can take over the role. Antonio Gibson dealing with his issues in his shins, with his shin splints, and not really figuring out what's going to go on there. You have J.D. McKissick, who's going to be solid in this offense, but Ricky Seals-Jones is going to be the number 2 safety blanket option for Taylor Heinicke. So I really like him here. On top of that, Dallas Goedert, I mean, just coming off of COVID-19 and being able to be thrust into this offense as the tight end and the only tight end at this point is definitely something that is going to benefit him greatly, because there were a lot of targets in this offense for the tight end position. The problem was they were split with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz now going to Arizona, which, Nick, I agree. I think that this offense is way too robust for Zach Ertz, and I know a lot of people picked up Ertz last week to play because Goddard was out, but at the end of the day, it might have only been a spot start, because you're going to have to wait a while before I'm willing to trust Zach Ertz fully in this offense. So there's a lot of interesting starts and sits here, but I like all 4 of these for sure. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below which players you want to start, which players you want to sit, and let us know if you have any questions about your lineup. Let the Fantasy 4-Pack know on their Twitter page. Go to their YouTube, check out their videos. Let them know in the comments down below as well what you think, if you have any lineup questions there. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.